Hello everyone and welcome to GameSpot of Thrones. I'm Lucy.
I'm Timur.
And man, it's episode 9.
It's going on. Finally.
It's the big one. And honestly, I've had middling feelings about this season so far. But my goodness.
That delivered, definitely. I think it delivered.
They never go short on the episode 9s, and I think this is possibly my favourite one so far. But we're going to go in depth, aren't we?
Yep.
So if you haven't seen the episode, definitely turn away now. But if you have seen, come revel in it with us. So this episode's called Battle of the Bastards.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought that the whole thing would be taking place on that battlefield just outside of Winterfell. But no, they did take us to Meereen for a little bit.
Yeah, so in Meereen, we picked up pretty much exactly where we left off last week. The Masters are laying siege to the city, and we've got Tyrion kind of putting his tails between his very tiny legs and being like, yeah, I screwed up, but, I also did this and this.
It's not all bad. It's not all
like,
bad.
It's not all
still
bad.
good.
It's not all bad. But Daenerys is like, you screwed up. I left you in charge and you messed it up. But then she starts talking about her plan and how she's going to retaliate, and it turns out to be quite a lot like her father's plan, which was basically kill everything. And Tyrion's like, oh, God,
this
is
sound
worrying.
good.
Yeah, so he kind of reminds her of the Mad King's kind of plan and what happened, and then for some reason recounts the kind of detail that Jaime told him about the wildfire underneath King's Landing.
Oh, I think that's a deliberate drop.
Yeah, so but it's like almost too like obvious that it's a drop. So he says Jaime killed the Mad King because there was wildfire underneath King's Landing, and also there's some at the Sept of Baelor. Anyways,
Wonder what's happening there next week, huh?
Yeah. So that happens, and then we skip ahead a bit, and we get the confrontation between the Masters and Team Daenerys. There's a bit of like back and forth jabbing, and
there's also the guy who's standing like this.
Yeah, the guy looks like Neil Druckmann with his with his hand of vagina.
Oh, The Last of Us.
Yeah. But then they're kind of like doing the jabbing, and the Masters are under the impression that they've got the upper hand. And then as one of them's like, listen guys, you need to give up. In the distance you can see a very faint silhouette of a dragon getting bigger and bigger, approaching, and you're like, oh, okay, this is how it's going down. And then kind of Drogon swoops behind and lands in front, and she's like, my rule is just beginning. See you later. Jumps on the dragon and gets out of there.
I do wonder how she trained Drogon to arrive at that particular moment. Just like you have to wait until I say the very awesome, badass line, and then that's when you land. Okay, let's practice this.
Yeah, and then shake a bit so you look real dragony and real threatening. And then she gets on, and you can see like the Masters are like, oh God, we screwed up.
Oh God.
This is bad news. So like then it cuts to a low level battle, and in front of the gates of Meereen we have the Sons of the Harpies just mercilessly killing innocents for no reason whatsoever.
They look so menacing. Like I think especially in this episode really hit home how menacing that mask is.
Yes, if you type in Sons of the Harpy into Google, like the first suggestion is mask. So people are trying to buy that mask and get up to no good, which is worrying. Don't be causing problems on the streets wearing that mask, people.
The new V for
Vendetta. It's like the new V for Vendetta mask. So then they are killing innocents, but never fear, the Khalasar is here.
Nice.
They come riding around the corner, led by your boy, Daenerys' toy boy, Dario.
No.
And he gets to swing in. And then cuts back to Daenerys, who's on a dragon, just flying around casually. And then from the side, you see like an explosion of fire. More dragons.
But again, like, how do they... Like, first of all, they've been trapped in that bloody pyramid for like a whole season and a half now. Why are they choosing now to break out?
Yeah, it's like perfectly timed.
Also, they haven't been flying for like years, so their wings aren't really going to be strong enough, are they?
Not really, and they've kind of been in the dark as well, so they should come out and be like, what's going on out here? What is happening? Bright. And then they like immediately synergize with each other and are like, Team Dragons, we know how to do this. And
the dragon has 3 heads, Timur.
Yeah, fine. I'm willing to buy that. That's okay with me. I'll allow it. So then they start flying around and setting boats on fire. It's lit. The dragons are out there. They're causing problems. Cut back to the Masters, and Grey Worm's like, you guys screwed up, man. And then he questions kind of their soldiers' loyalty. It's like, do you really want to fight for these guys when they're not really fighting for you? And the soldiers think, you know what? This guy's got the right idea, and they drop their weapons and they're off. And then
that's again, I mean, like a little bit stupid on them, because they could have just ran away and taken their weapons, because they are still going to run through a war zone.
You didn't see it, but they literally ran off into Dragonfire.
Yeah.
Like just off screen, and Dragon was like, you guys, no way.
Pick them up and eat them.
Yep, eat them. And then from there, they say, Daenerys requires one of you to die because you screwed up. And they immediately throw the lowborn master under the bus, which is pretty brutal. But Grey Worm, in a slick move like a samurai, pulls out his knife and takes out the 2 snitches and leaves the last one and says, you go home and tell everyone not to try this again. Just remember what happened when Daenerys and her dragons showed up. But that's not everything that happened in Meereen. We later have a meeting between Theon, Yara and Daenerys.
How did they get there so quickly? It just seemed like they were, one minute they were in Volantis enjoying the fruits of the ladies on offer, and then the next they're just sort of in Meereen.
We've explained this before, jetpacks.
Yeah, but also, I mean, like, if the master ships are kind of taking up all of the dock space, right?
Just kind of snuck in between, like, hey guys. But like they have a discussion, and it's basically them trying to forge an alliance, and you get this amazing kind of back and forth where Yara and Daenerys basically realize that they're very similar, and then they give each other the eyes like, wood. And then she looks back and is like, would.
I mean, Yara outright says it, right? She's like...
Yeah. So the thing is, like, they say, has the Iron Isles ever had a queen? And then she replies, as much as Westeros has ever had. And they're like, I like it.
Yeah, so we're going to sail over together and become friends.
And then it's like, your dad's a bit of a shit ruler. And she replies, so was yours. And then they're like, let's do this. Man. So then they come to an agreement. Theon's like, nah, I don't really want to be king. Just leave it to her. And then they shake hands, and an alliance
They shake elbows.
They shake elbows, yeah. And I really like that handshake in Game of Thrones. I'm going to start shaking more elbows in my daily life. Starting with you. I think it's also worth mentioning that Theon shows that he has no interest in being a king, and is kind of we've got the new Theon where he acknowledges what he's done in the past. He says, I've done things a lot worse than what was suggested there, and he's willing to kind of let his sister take charge on becoming the leader of the Iron Islands.
But not only that, I mean, you've got Tyrion saying, "Oh, well, the last time I saw you, you were, saying all these dwarf jokes and just basically getting on your high horse, what happened to you," kind of thing. So kind of it acts like Tyrion doesn't really know the extent of Theon's punishment.
Yeah, or his change, like, because Theon replies that was a long time ago. So he's not everyone's aware that he's changed, and he doesn't seem to be reflecting on what happened to him as well, because Daenerys is like, what happened to you? And he doesn't really say, I got tortured and I got my balls cut off. He's just like, don't worry about it.
But now he's had a drink. Yep. He's fine.
He had a nice big drink, and that sorted him out. Okay, so the big takeaway for this is Daenerys is ready to get stuck into the fray.
She's going to get off that rock. Finally.
Yeah.
Also, I think it's interesting that, like, she's got the master ships now. She's got part of the Iron Fleet. But it's like, why are they leading up to this confrontation with Euron, right? Because her ultimate goal is to get the whole of the Seven Kingdoms. So giving the Iron Islands back to the Greyjoys, I guess I can kind of see. But it's interesting that she's like, oh yeah, they can ask for their independence. But that seems kind of out of character, because she wants to control the world. So divvying away her kingdom before she's even got it seems a bit...
Yeah, I mean, she's got to take the battle step by step, right? And the Greyjoys and getting the Iron Islands on her team may be a way to do that. And she seems to be trying to change what they are as well, because she said, like, you can carry on and, have your Iron Islands back as long as you stop raping, pillaging, and, murdering anyone wantonly. And they're like, that's our way. And she's like, well, you either change or you don't get what you want.
Yeah.
So she's kind of almost molding a new army to go back to, and using them, maybe use what she has there to slowly take over different houses, different areas, to ultimately lead that final battle in King's Landing.
Yeah, but is she going to be the one to lead that army, or is Jon Snow? I mean, like the ultimate final battle, right?
Yeah. Well, it's likely to be a team up, right?
Yeah.
Where Jon Snow realizes that he doesn't actually care and he just wants to kind of put an end to all this, maybe get some revenge on someone later on down the line.
But I want them to get married and have beautiful babies.
It's not going to happen.
Oh.
The dragons won't allow it.
But another thing that was really teased in this bit was the wildfire. So we know that from Bran's vision that there's definitely wildfire under there. We've heard it said in previous episodes, I think super early on they seeded the wildfire. But now it's like Tyrion's like, yep, it's there and it's everywhere.
Yeah.
Do we think Cersei is going to just burn them all?
So in the last episode, we had Cersei talking to the Maester about some sort of...
It was the rumour, right?
Rumour. And I originally thought it was about like some illicit thing that the High Sparrow may have done.
To be honest, I thought it'd be about Catelyn, to be honest.
Yeah, perhaps, yeah. That she's,
that she's alive.
She's alive or something like that. But it's likely based on this that, she's discovered a new cache of wildfire conveniently placed underneath the exact place where she's going to be having her trial soon.
Yeah.
And obviously because trial by combat has now been ruled out and she can't get her zombie knight to take care of everyone, she's going to have to take more extreme measures, which is interesting because there's going to be a lot of fallout if that is the case. Yeah,
because you think she could wipe out the whole of the Faith, but she could also wipe out her son, Marjorie and Loras.
Yeah,
she could wipe out herself.
I think she's reached a point where her son's kind of a little less important to her now after the obvious betrayal that she's been going through at his hands. I think she might be more willing to be like, yeah, let's set this little brat on fire so I can get the hell out of here.
This episode, though, is the Battle of the Bastards. So let's talk a little bit about the lead up into it, because there was a lot of drams.
Yeah, there was a lot of drama, a lot of sass as well. So on the outskirts of Winterfell, we have a standoff between Sansa and Jon versus Ramsay. We also have a backing group, which is an incredibly sour-faced Lyanna Mormont.
I feel like that girl, I mean, she's only about 10 or 12. She's just grown up on a diet of lemons and salt.
Yeah, lemons and salt. That kind of sour Skittles, just like... Yeah. But yeah, she looks like she's ready for murder. When she grows up, she's going to own the entire territory of Westeros, yeah. We also have Davos and Tormund there. And Ramsay's basically saying, kneel before Zod, and all will be forgiven.
Snoochie boochie. Yeah, no.
And they're like, no, we don't want to do that. And he's being an absolute shitbag the entire time. He's like...
In the morning, then. Bastard.
And now that he's no longer a bastard, he can rub it in on all the other bastards. So they're like, and he's reminding them about how small the armies are comparatively. But Jon does get his own little jab in. He plays a bit of mind games. He's like, 1v1 me, scrub. and Ramsay's like, no, that's not wise. So then Jon comes out with how are your men going to feel knowing, will they really fight for you knowing that you wouldn't step up when you were challenged?
So I think it's quite nice that in the Marine section they also had that moment of your ruler's not going to fight for you. It's almost as if it's the Song of Ice and Fire and they were the two key parts of it.
Here we go with the babies again.
It's going to happen.
So then after that, Ramsay reminds them that he has Rickon, and we get this amazing line from Sansa.
Now, if you want to save...
You're going to die tomorrow, Lord Bolton. Sleep well.
So Bastard Bowl is on, and the team get to planning. There's a bit of comic relief here where Tormund's like, pincer attack?
Oh, bless him.
Yeah, and the other one, which is a double envelopment, which was I was like, what? What are you doing? And then eventually Jon's like, from the sides. And Tormund goes, gotcha, I understand. Yeah. So then when they leave, Sansa gets up and she reminds Jon that out of all of them, she has the best insight into Ramsay.
I feel like she's complaining that he didn't ask her advice. Why didn't she just give it? She was there. It's not like he had a hand over his mouth.
Yeah, just volunteer your sage-like wisdom if you've got it. So she says, I know what he's like. And essentially it's if you think that you're getting the upper hand, he's actually playing you. You ain't. He's laying the trap and allowing you to fall into it. And then she also shows that she's prepared for Rickon to die, which is kind of it's indicative of the change in Sansa, right? She's gone from being damsel in distress to basically being can't say the word?
Strategist.
she's basically gone from damsel in distress to being a strategist. So she's like, chances are, Rickon's, the heir to Winterfell and a challenge to Ramsay. His chances aren't good. So she's almost like come to terms with the idea that her younger brother is going to die, while Jon still hasn't.
Yeah, I feel like she spent a lot of time with Littlefinger, though, right? She's more calculating. She's more aware of the risks and like the costs. Because if they want to get Winterfell back, then Ramsay was always going to let Rickon die.
Yeah, definitely. On the way out, she turns and she's like, listen.
If Ramsay wins, I'm not going back there alive. Do you understand me?
I won't ever let him touch you again. I'll protect you, I promise.
No one can protect me. No one can protect anyone.
So, wrapping things up here, outside we get some bants between Davos and Tormund. They talk about pledging themselves to kings. And then there's discussion.
How it doesn't really pan out.
Yeah, it doesn't work really well. And then there's a discussion about how they deal with like pre-battle stress. Tormund likes a bit of nasty goat's milk, which is a really weird way to deal with it. While Davos is like, I'm going to walk. I'm going to think.
Get the poops.
And I'm going to keep going until no one can hear me pooping. And then we get an amazing Tormund line. Probably the best in the season so far.
Have you shitting?
Out on his walk, things take a turn for the worse. Davos finds a pyre, and amongst it he finds a toy, a little stag that he made for someone special.
You know, when he was picking that up and you couldn't really see what it was, I thought it was her hand.
Oh.
And like the grayscale meant that it didn't melt.
No, that would have been even more devastating than it was.
Half her face.
Yeah,
that would have been so,
face.
like just a Phantom of the Opera style mask left.
And then he wears it as a mask and becomes like an Avenger.
Or it could be the Phantom of the battle.
Yeah. So he finds the toy, and it is obviously the toy that he made for Shireen. Realizes what's happened here. Daddy sacrificed daughter, and Melisandre had a hand in burning the young lady.
I love how this went out on Father's Day as well.
Yeah.
Like, top number one dad, Stannis.
Worst guy.
Oh.
So meanwhile, inside, Jon and Melisandre are meeting, and he's like, listen, if I die this time, don't bring me back. I'm done with this stuff. And Melisandre's like, it depends on what Lord of Light says.
Yeah, I'm just doing what he tells me to do, right?
I'm just doing what he says. And he's like, frick the guy, man.
I love the way that he was like, how do you even know what he wants?
Yeah.
And she's like, oh, I just didn't, try and interpret the symbols.
Read the signs.
Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't.
Yep, and that's the end of it. So the setup is ready there. That is the intro to the Battle of the Bastards.
I thought the Davos realization was incredibly well done.
Yeah.
Like it was the red, was it the sunrise or the sunset?
Yeah.
In the background, and just like that incredible shot where he's standing back. And I thought that it meant that when he went into battle, he would just didn't care.
Yeah.
But it was kind of good to see him be more tactical and still be of use. I think he wanted to survive so that Melisandre could get her comeuppance.
Yeah, I was convinced that this would be the end of Davos. Like this would be his moment where he'd go out in a blaze of anger and glory and fury. But he seems to have stayed composed, which means he clearly has a plan. He's got something cooking. Maybe it's time for him to break his allegiances with the Lord of Light and his priestesses.
Okay, the battle itself. Now, the guy who directed this episode, Miguel Sapochnik.
Nailed it.
I hope I got that right. But he directed Hardhome from last season, so we kind of know that he can do the big battle sequences. But to be honest, I was blown away by this one.
Same.
Because, we'll talk about the choreography in a minute, but just the way that it managed to portray just how awful the battle, like, war like that really is. Like, none of it was, like, glorified. It was all just gross and people lying on the ground and horses collapsing and arrows and swords and... Oh my God.
That was the worst bit. Like, I was okay with the people getting hit by swords, but when two horses slam into each other, that was the one that was like, oh, for God's sake, stop this.
It was also amazing because it like held you. Like the tension was ripe throughout. So we're going to talk about some real key moments in it because I don't think I've ever seen a battle sequence quite like it.
I think that might be my favorite. But what I loved about it is like in films like Lord of the Rings, it's very like top down.
Well, it's very top down, but it's also very zippy. So, the camera angle will just keep moving all around. It actually reminded me a lot of Mad Max in a way, because you know, like in typically like in things like Lord of the Rings, the camera like zips around, it moves all over. You can't really follow the action. But in Mad Max, it's like center framed, and you can always see what's happening and what's going on. And that was incredible. So when you're following Jon as he's out on the battlefield, and you know the armies are crushing in around him, you can follow him, and you can see the horses colliding. You can see men fighting, and the way that the archery, you know, the
arrows
come in,
and you get to see like. In a lot of these movies, you see like the hero running in and just effortlessly swinging from one person to the other. But in this one, we got to see a lot of near misses where Jon could have almost got like taken out, but like saved by fortune when someone else stumbled into the way. So it was just a really like, it reminded me a lot of like the way video games would approach a battle, where it's like really
Rise,
getting,
Son of Rome.
Son of Rome, like For Honor almost, like getting right into the nitty gritty of it and following the character stumbling around and getting bloody.
Yeah, but it really kept you, even from the very beginning. So when you got Ramsay dragging, I mean, we already knew it was Rickon, right? When he was dragging him, and there's this lingering shot. It was very deliberate, the shot of Ramsay's flaying knife. So we think that Rickon's going to get flayed or something out on the battlefield, but no, it's something kind of even worse. He goes full apocalypto.
Yep.
And, I mean, I guess Rickon never learned about zigzags.
No, he didn't.
So...
Like dive.
Just
random moments, just do it.
I mean, although props to Ramsay, because I imagine a moving target is very difficult to shoot.
I mean, he missed like 3 times. So
he did, but he did hit them.
Eventually, at the worst possible moment.
I kind of feel bad for the actor who plays Rickon, because he got brought back for this season. I don't think he had a single line.
Yeah.
But no, I thought that was great in the way that, you know, Jon immediately understands what's happening, gets on his horse and comes in. But then what he does is he falls for the bait. And he completely biffs it. It's the one thing that Sansa warned him against, was Rickon's probably going to die. We have to be all right with that, because that's Ramsay's trap. That's his ace in the hole. So what does Jon do?
Ride straight into the enemy.
By himself.
Like an idiot.
But I mean, that bit where Jon's in the thick of it and the two armies crash around him was seriously incredible. But let's talk a little bit about the armies involved, because there was a long-standing fan theory that maybe the Karstarks or the Umbers would remain loyal to the Starks and actually turn on Ramsay, but they didn't.
They didn't, no.
They did not.
There was a moment where we speculated maybe they were doing a really wide turn, like going all the way around the battlefield to come back around, but that very quickly kind of was dashed, unfortunately.
Yeah. But also I thought the bit where they were seeding, you know, like, oh, they don't want to fight for the Boltons, they have to. That might be, you know, that they would turn because they don't want to fight for the Boltons. And
the pacing of it was in a way that, like, they came out and they were slowly surrounding everyone. There was a lot of pauses where every time it happened, I was like, this is the moment where they're going to turn. This is the moment where they're going to turn. But it was like, no, just setting up the worst death for everyone in there.
I mean, it was bad enough as well that Ramsay was essentially firing into his own men.
Yeah.
He was getting the archers and the longbows to fire straight into them, because just basically a whole pool of death.
Yeah.
So he probably killed more of his own men than Jon's army did.
Conversely, Davos was like, let's not do this. They didn't fire their arrows because that was killing their own men. I mean, he had more reason not to do it because they've got less men. Yeah. And Ramsay can afford to just like be disposing of his army.
Yeah, but then we got, as you said, to the bit where it just got so brutal. So the Bolton army is in this big U shape, and there's this pile of bodies, and it's the bit where, you know, all the wildlings are packed in and they've got the pikes closing in on them. But also you have the other people scrambling over the bodies, and the people are still alive. Yeah. And, you know, you had the guys there holding their innards in. And then you've got the Umbers, I believe, it's coming over to stop them getting out that way. And oh my God.
And Jon's like underneath a pile of bodies, just desperately trying to get out.
That was genuinely terrifying for me. I thought that was incredibly well done because...
the claustrophobia is just like, oh my God.
Like, I'm a small person, so I don't really like gigs because I feel like that. Yeah. Like, I've never been trampled.
I'm pretty much the same as a big person.
But I'm like, oh God, it just made me feel really uncomfortable. And I genuinely felt, this is it. Because especially with that conversation with Melisandre where she's like, he might have brought you back just to die. Yeah. So you did genuinely feel like he probably wasn't safe. But then...
It's your boy.
Oh my goodness. With his Gandalf the Grey... No, Gandalf the White moment.
Yeah, the White.
Come on now. Let's get this Lord of the Rings reference proper.
Okay.
But he, Jon, at dawn, he looked to the east.
Yep.
And there they were, the Knights of the Vale. So we called that.
Yeah, we saw that coming.
But I mean... First of all, let's just take a moment to appreciate Littlefinger's shit-eating grin.
Yeah, and it was the best thing about it was the placement was perfect because the camera was focused on Sansa. But if you look to the left a bit, you just see him, he's like,
Hey.
I'm the real hero here.
Although what kind of did annoy me is that he was in the opening credits.
Yeah.
So I kind of wish that they hadn't done that.
Yeah.
I mean, it was an obvious thing that would happen. But if Sansa as well, Sansa had a go at Jon, right? Being like, oh, you never let me help. Because she didn't tell anyone what she was doing.
I mean, it's a pretty big, like, strategic bit of information that Jon should probably have known going in. Like, what? You've got how many more men that are going to appear?
How many more well-trained and rested men who are all on horses who can totally save our ass?
Why don't we delay this for a couple of hours while they, get their act together?
Basically, it's the Battle of Helm's Deep. So after the Knights of the Vale arrive, Ramsay, only then does he really think that all's lost. He sort of seems ambivalent about the whole thing.
It was in that moment that Ramsay Bolton realized that he screwed up.
For once in his life.
Yeah.
And he, retreats back to Winterfell and he thinks, oh, it's fine. Yeah, we'll just starve them out. We've got no army.
Yeah.
They've got no army apart from the new army that just joined them.
And
that was a weird thing for him to say as well. It's like, we've got no armies apart from, all
those dudes that just showed up. And also they have a Hulk. So he basically, which appears and just starts stomping around and pushing.
Yeah, so Jon, Jon, Tormund and Wun chase after him to Winterfell, and Wun does what Wun does best, and that is break down big oak wooden doors. But sadly...
Oh man, this was devastating.
I really didn't like this. He became a giant pincushion.
Oh, it was so bad.
And then, just after he breaks through with Jon, and Jon looks at him, with this... we did it, and Wun just gets one in the eye.
Ramsay's final insult.
Oh yeah, now he can hit a target.
Yeah, now he can do it.
So Jon and Ramsay finally then have their one-on-one. Neither of them actually seem to use swords though, which is a bit dumb.
Yeah.
So Ramsay's using a bow and arrow in an enclosed space, and Jon throws down his sword completely and just picks up a shield. But what is good about the shield is that it's a Mormont shield.
Yep.
So Lyanna Mormont, we took the mick. We were like, 62 men, that's nothing. Well, the strength of those 62 men were in that shield, and they saved Jon's life.
Yep. I mean, a sword probably would have helped, but like, whatever in it.
That kind of annoyed me, because I was like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
But
so, I guess it is like this moment of pure rage where he's like, I just want to hit him with my hands until he is pulp. So he threw it away, and I was like, I'm grabbing the shield, getting up close and going in, do some work.
But what I did like is when he was, pulping Ramsay's face, he stopped and looked at Sansa. So I thought Sansa would give him, the nod, as if to say, kill him. But he knew that, it was hers. Ramsay's life was hers, and she could do with it as she wished.
Yep.
And
it was very cathartic to see Jon Snow pummeling that guy, because there's something about his smug little face that I've wanted to see get punched for so long.
He was still arrogant, to the very, very end.
He smiled at the last moment as well.
Yeah, or maybe that was just because all the bones in his face are broken, and that's all he could do. So then Ramsay is tied up in the kennels, and... Well, I mean, we already recognise that it's the kennels.
Yep.
But the doors are already open.
Yeah. And
it's another one of those incredibly well-trained animal moments where they don't attack him until Sansa's managed to say her incredibly badass line. But, that was obviously a well-deserved ending for Ramsay. I thought his character was brilliant. I really liked him. He was very one-dimensional. He was very...
I mean, he's probably the most hated character in that.
Even more than Joffrey? Oh, over the series.
I think even more than Joffrey, because Joffrey was a little shit, but this guy was scheming in ways and torturing everyone we loved, and oh my god, it's his face as well. Joffrey's had one of those faces that you just want to hit him, but this guy, he's got oh my god, he's so smug. I want to hit him.
But no, I'm glad that it was Sansa who was kind of there as the dog's jaws ripped his off.
The dog literally ate his jaw, which was amazing.
I mean, if you don't feed your bloodthirsty hounds for 7 days, then that's going to end badly for someone. And it ended badly for him. But I have a question. Where was Ghost throughout this entire thing, right?
That wolf. I mean, dire wolves entirely. They're just, in this series, they've just built a reputation for being incredibly flaky.
Maybe they
Just get the hell
blew
out.
the CGI budget.
Yeah, maybe the ghost realized what's happened to the rest of the direwolves and was like, I need to get the hell out of here. These guys
Yeah.
are no good.
Unless maybe he stayed with Melisandre to like,
maybe.
I'll protect you.
I doubt it. I think he just ran for it. He's like, I'm out of here.
But what was interesting to note in that final conversation between Sansa and Ramsay. Now, you see, I thought this was a clunky bit of dialogue until I kind of watched it again.
Our time together is about to come to an end. That's all right. You can't kill me. I'm part of you now.
So I thought it was like a clunky bit of dialogue at first because he says, I'm part of you. So you can either interpret that in two ways. Either she's pregnant.
Which is what I think it is.
Oh,
Which
God.
is gross.
But how would he know that?
I don't know. No, he just knows these things. He knows he has a way of, like, he's like the Joker. Even after he's done with Batman, he's been captured. He can say this one thing and know that it's just going to be in his head forever.
Yeah.
So the Ramsay's like, I'm part of you now.
I'm part of you now. That's also a really gross way of saying
Yes,
it.
awful.
Or the fact that, after all the torture and everything, he's in her head now.
Yeah.
Does that mean... I mean, we know that Sansa's getting more calculated and, not uncaring, but she's taking bigger risks, like about Rickon. She kind of knew that had to happen. Is that what he means?
Yeah,
as
he
well?
has
Like-
kind of changed her personality somewhat. And he's one of the people that has done that. Littlefinger has also contributed to that. Joffrey, for example.
Yeah.
But like he might have put in the part where it's become a bit malicious.
Yeah.
Just small enough. And maybe that's something that's explored going forward. Like her willingness to just throw Rickon away is a small example of that, but maybe that's something that over time will grow and will be like, oh my God, she's a Bolton.
Or maybe she'll just be a Mrs. Littlefinger with a hint of Bolton. Time now, as always, for Death of the Week.
Aw.
It's going to be tricky this
yeah,
time
yeah.
because there were about 3,000.
I like the different flavors of death. So like you've got some generic random death.
Just battle death.
You got some sad death. And then you got some you deserve that death.
So let's pick a few of our favorites. I think Wun-Wun's death was incredible.
yeah.
I mean, not for, not because I was happy to see it happen, but I thought it was a befitting tribute. And also quite a nice parallel to Hodor's death. So Hodor, had to hold the door.
Hold the door!
This
Whereas
guy
Wun-Wun broke through the door.
It's important to forget. It's important to remember. How important Wun-Wun was. Like he helped sway the Wildling and the Free Folk vote, right?
Snow.
So Snow, and people were like, that big guy's right,
Yeah.
Snow, and he kind of got them behind. And he's been around for so long and it's had massive impact. I wish that he was a little more. He had more of like an impact within battles because like you just see him slowly running towards battles, but he was amazing for like breaking through fortifications, that kind of stuff, and he didn't deserve to go the way he did. I wanted Jon and him to have that final moment where they touch hands and be like, we did it, buddy. Flipping Ramsay with his arrow.
There were a couple of people who got their comeuppance in this episode. Not only Ramsay, but I think the Small John.
Yes.
So Small John Umber, the one who gave Rickon to Ramsay. Finally, it wasn't a confrontation between him and Jon, as I kind of hoped it would be. But damn, Tormund got in there. So, I mean, there was a really heated fight between them. And, the Small John was just headbutting Tormund, and it was gross. And I thought that would be the end of Tormund, to be honest. But then, wildling tactics.
Yeah, never turn your back on a wild. Don't give a wildling a second
Don't
to
give
regroup.
wildling a bit of a neck.
Yeah, they will taste that neck.
So yeah,
He went straight in.
rips it out and then stabs him, and I thought that was a befitting
That was
end.
savage, shall we say. My personal death of the week, Ramsay, just for the sheer brutality of it.
I missed him already.
Yeah, and it's a two-part death. So the first part is where Jon gets him and delivers, I think it was 21 punches. I was counting.
counting?
Yeah, I was counting. I wanted to savor every single one, committed everyone to memory. So that was beautiful because it's, real hand-to-hand stuff. And then the next one is irony.
Yeah.
Finally, he got a taste of his own medicine.
Well,
his
the dog's got the taste of his medicine.
Yeah, something like that. And the thing that made it sweeter for me was he was convinced that the dogs wouldn't betray him.
Oh,
he was
just when
like,
he was like, sit.
Yeah, he was like, sit, and the dog was like, I'm gonna eat your face.
I'm gonna lick your face now.
Yeah. For a moment, like it showed the front of the dog, and the dog was looking quite cute. It was like, yeah, it's Ramsay. How you doing?
Daddy.
And then he realized, I'm hungry. I'm gonna eat this dude. And like the way that the dog's mouth just went around Ramsay's jaw, and then there was a crunch. Oh, it was beautiful.
Okay, time now for another spoiler warning. If you don't want to see anything from next week's episode, which is the season finale, then turn away now because we're going to be dissecting the little tease that we had at the end of episode 9. Okay, so we know that episode 10 is Cersei's trial. So trial by combat, Clegane Bowl has been ruled out. But we hear the High Sparrow say, are you prepared to stand trial and profess your guilt or innocence before the Seven?
Yeah.
So they're in the Sept of Baelor.
And there is wildfire up in there.
There is. We also get a look at Sir Loras. He's gone at his pretty curls.
Yeah.
He's looking pretty beat.
Yeah.
He also looks like he's going to crack.
Yeah, he looks like he's ready to flip on anyone and everyone. So
this next scene's pretty interesting. So next episode is called The Winds of Winter. And this is a white raven. So this is what the maesters send to signal the season has changed.
why do they need to do that? Just like look outside.
Because they're like, really important weathermen and they need to tell everyone. But so the season's officially changing. Winter is coming. Well,
All
technically
right.
winter's here.
Yeah.
But then we have Sansa and Jon, and they don't seem to be getting on.
Are they getting on, or what I saw was like them fortifying their new relationship.
It seemed to be Jon doing that, but
Yeah.
Sansa seemed to be very hesitant.
I mean, the thing is like Littlefinger's back in the action now, and there is a scene later on where they're talking. I think this might be a situation where they're creating a new allegiance to kind of get to scheming together.
Unless it seems like Sansa's making an allegiance with both of them, and they're not really all three of them talking.
Yeah, maybe.
It would be quite interesting. But then we get quite a unusual scene. Jaime is in the Twins with the Freys. So we thought that after he'd secured Riverrun, he would just hop, skip, and jump right back to King's Landing to be with his beloved Cersei. But no, he's gone to see Walder Frey.
For some reason.
And Walder Frey says the Freys and the Lannisters send their regards.
Oh, that one cuts deep.
Which doesn't sound that good. And also, I'm interested to see if there's any fallout from Edmure, being manipulated by Jaime into getting Riverrun back. Maybe Jaime promised that he would get revenge on the Freys. Then, as you mentioned, we've got Sansa and Littlefinger. Love is in the air.
Is it? It's like forced love.
Yeah, I mean, admittedly, one of them's in love.
Yeah. The other one's like, I just saved your ass. You better.
The other one's like, I'm not my mum, leave me alone. And then we finally get this confrontation that I've been wanting for a long time, and that's Davos and Melisandre. And
It looks heated.
yeah,
Davos is looking very, very upset.
I mean, rightfully so.
Yeah,
But also, like, tell him what you did. Tell him.
Yeah. I mean, Melisandre, she could be like, yeah, I did it. She's done it before. She's like, yeah, I popped out a demon.
She looks very guilty about it, though, which is something that we're not used to seeing from her.
I mean, her faith has been somewhat shaken recently.
But then she brought a guy back from the dead.
Yeah, but she doesn't seem to be convinced that she managed it herself. Like her
Yeah.
power is, her faith in her own power seems to be waning, which could translate into a waning of faith in the Lord of Light.
And then we have a shot of Bran.
This guy again.
If I don't get the damn Tower of Joy reveal, okay? This is ridiculous. You've taken Clegane Bowl away from me. Give me the Tower of Joy. I just need to know. I need to know what's in there. I mean, we already kind of know what's in there.
Yeah, we know what's in there.
Do we, though? A lot of red herrings in this season.
And things are changing from the books.
And then we've got, are you afraid? You're in the Great Game now, blah, blah, blah. So hopefully this means that Daenerys will get off her ass and actually get on a boat. I really, really hope. Also, there's a kind of weird scene where it's her and Daria and Aharis, and I'm kind of wondering, is that a goodbye? Does he refuse to leave the second sons? And
It'd be amazing if the actual scene is that happening, and then Captain Friendzone returns at that moment and is like, I'm back, baby, I fixed it.
Don't do this to me. I can't bear it if he's back. He probably will return, to be honest.
Yeah.
And then we have a guy walking. So I have zoomed and enhanced this. I've looked it up on Google Images. That's the Sept of Baelor, this door. Who is leaving?
You seem to think it's...
Well, no, because I thought it was Maester Qyburn, right? Because you can see a chain on here, but... We were sad. We compared the haircuts.
Yep.
Qyburn's got a little bit of a flicking curls at the bottom. So this could be Lancel, because Lancel also has chains.
Yeah.
So...
That's who I'm betting on.
I wonder what his role will be if he... You know, he's seen firsthand the power of the mountain. Could he really betray Cersei again? I don't know.
Interesting.
But what I want to do, Timur... I want to make some predictions on what the last shot of the season's going to be.
All right.
So there's a few we can pick from. So, King's Landing burning.
Yes.
Cersei goes full heiress.
Yeah.
I think there's a good chance of that happening next episode. I also think the wall could come down.
Oh, that's a big one.
So if we know that Bran has basically broken the magic that kept the Night's King at bay because he got touched. God's sake, Bran. If he goes south of the wall,
I think that's the best one. I think that's the most likely one for me, because we've gotten quite thick into the politics between different houses right now, and it's easy to lose sight of the bigger picture. And I think they're going to take the opportunity to remind people, actually, this is all inconsequential, because there's this horde of frost zombies on their way.
Yeah. Another thing, maybe it could be Lady Stoneheart. I mean, they keep saying, you know, oh, we've never had any conversations about Lady Stoneheart. She's definitely not happening. Well, they said that about Jon Snow's death, okay?
Yeah.
They said that he was like, oh, yeah, he's dead. He's definitely not coming back. And look where we are now. Leading
One
a damn
Jon
army.
Snow up. Yeah.
That'd
be a good one.
That would be a good one. Like, you know, an eyes open, final frame kind of thing.
Just like bloodshot eyes.
The final thing that I think could be the last scene.
Want it to be.
I want to be the last scene is the Tower of Joy, but knowing Game of Thrones and knowing our luck, they'll probably open the door, then that'll cut there.
Yep.
So that was episode 9, Timur. How do you think it went?
I really liked it. I liked it a lot. A lot of people that I dislike got offed. I got to see an awesome battle sequence, and it's setting up for an incredible season finale. I'm really excited.
Because I've been worried about this season a little bit. Some of the story arcs haven't necessarily gone where I thought they would, but I'm so glad that episode 9 is kind of just put everyone back on the right path, I think. And also that battle sequence is not something I'm going to be forgetting anytime soon. I really, really enjoyed it. And it's the same director for the next episode as well. So he is hoping in season 7 they give him a bunch more episodes to do.
It's going to be an incredible Sand Snakes episode.
Stop this. Shout out to Sand Snakes, who still haven't been in since episode 1. I think they've just quietly
pushed them into the sea,
poochied out back to their home planet. But please make sure to join us next Monday, as we'll be talking about the season finale. I'm so excited. Although I have to wait a whole week now, which I'm quite disappointed about. But in the meantime, you can find me and Timur on Twitter. Tam?
I'm at TimurH.
And I'm at Lucy James Games. If you want to listen to the audio version of this glorious show, then head over to iTunes, search for GameSpot of Thrones, and we will see you next week.